Hi everyone, Tim Brown. Welcome back to my Apple Podcast, the podcast that makes a personal connection to everything Apple. This past week, a new browser was introduced for iOS, and it's called Coast by Opera. It's a wonderful application, and I'm kind of curious about its release since it came out shortly before the release of iOS 7, which, as you know, will also have some rather unique multitasking features that are integrated into Safari. And while I'm looking forward to that new version, I've always been excited about third-party applications that offer different browser options. And while Safari has always been my main browser, I've never used Safari exclusively precisely because there's so many fantastic browsers out there, and Coast is definitely one of them. And just to show you just how interested I've been, I'm going to pull up a folder of browsers that I have set aside. And here you can see a selection of browsers that I have found quite useful. I'm not going to cover them, but I'm just going to show you them briefly. There's, of course, iCab Mobile, which is a browser that gives you the option to view your pages full screen. There's also Mercury, which is another nice browser. You'll find that all of these browsers are very similar. They offer very similar tabbed options, very similar options for accessing menus from the top right corner. So here you see I can also launch full screen with Mercury. There are even some browsers that can enable you to view windows as double screens, and this is Twin Browsers, which is also a pretty nice application. And here you can go back and forth between twin and single window viewing options. There's also 360 Browser, which also has some pretty cool features for going back and forth between full screen browser and normal viewing. And one of my favorites, Browser Plus, which is a very smooth interface. You get a full screen view of your browser window, and you can swipe either from the right or left to bring up your history. It's a very smooth interface, and this is one application that likewise makes use of the swiping gestures. Likewise, if you want to type in an address, you can swipe from the bottom to bring up either an option to search through Google or to enter an address. So as you can see, browser options have always been available, so it's nothing new. But Coast, I think, introduces something a little bit different that really takes full use of touch screen gestures. So let's take a look at Coast. Now Coast has a very simple interface, really not very difficult at all to figure this out. Right now I have my Apple Podcast up full screen on a browser window, but let me go ahead and just show you the basic user interface. You'll see at the very bottom there's a little tile icon. You just tap on that, and now you have the normal view for Coast. Most of the options that you see here came pre-configured with the browser since I just recently downloaded it. And you can actually just swipe through all the different tabbed options, which is really nice. And I love the little square tile interface as well, which brings up the different features that you want to access. So for example, if I want to go ahead and access YouTube, I just tap on the tile for YouTube, and of course it brings YouTube up full screen. What's really nice too is it's very easy to get back to the normal browsing mode by just simply tapping on the tile view. And you can see there are very smooth animations that allow the tiles to just flip right back into place. I like the fact too that you have the white bar up top, which gives you a quick and easy access to a search or to entering an address. You'll notice at the bottom I have another tile. That tile represents my history. So I just pulled up the Apple website recently, so I can now tap on that and bring that up as part of my viewing history. Now let's just say I wanted to save this page the same way as the other pages. What you do is you take your finger and just press and hold, and you can now drag that wherever you want it to go. And just tap on the screen to stop the jiggle, and now Apple's website is now part of the tile interface. So if I tap on that, now I have quick access to that website. Now what's also really nice too is that there's another little option on the bottom right corner. If you tap on that, you'll see that all of a sudden now all of the windows that you viewed can now be accessed. So basically your history of browsing can be accessed this way as floating tiles. And this is also a very nice option. It just goes to show you just how smooth the user interface really is. Let's just say you're going through your history and you realize that there was a page that you really just don't need anymore. Well, you just swipe it away and it's gone. It's that simple. So Opera really has done it. They have devised a very smooth and relevant user interface for today's user, who at this point in time have really become quite accustomed to the touch gestures. Being able to swipe a browser away, or just being able to tap or swipe left or right to get to where you need to go, is what today's user on the tablet is expecting to do. And if you can't do that and do that in a very smooth, quick, and easy fashion, 9 times out of 10, your browser is going to be less popular and less in demand. Coast is setting the next bar for what we can expect from browsers and other similar applications. It's really quite nice. This is Tim Brown, My Apple Podcast. Stay tuned for future updates of iOS 7 coming soon.